Any other questions? Councillor Rapp.
Chair, I'm going to abstain on this. I can't really vote against it because I can see that it could be argued that it's policy compliant, but I do feel that at a certain point we have to start making a stand about the need for family-sized homes. And if we don't start pushing back, we won't get those applications through. So I just want to explain why I'm going to abstain. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Your microphone, can you turn it off? Red bricks, Councillor Desmond. You do like red bricks?
Yes, I was going to say that, firstly, it's nice to be in cinema sound and scope. I remember Fellini's Satyricon that was playing in 1978 across the road, and it's nice to play a part of such an image. And I mean, obviously we're about to have the vote, but aesthetically, I think it's very important. I don't like grey bricks. It's miserable weather. Everything is grey, even that book which we won't mention. But red bricks do create a certain warmth, so I'm pleased about that. So I hope there won't be any variation, given what's been said. I just did want to clarify the position. Are these units for sale or for rental? Could you clarify that, please?
It's proposed that they're for sale.
Thank you. Any other comments from the committee? I see no. Then we'll just move to the vote. The recommendation summary that the committee resolved to grant planning permission subject to conditions and completion of a section 106 legal agreement. Those in favour, please show.
So, just for the recording, that is Councillor Webb. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the application.
Thank you, and an abstention from Councillor Rapp noted, and thank you for the explanation. Thank you, everyone. We'll move to the next agenda item. So it's agenda item 7, 40 to 43 Andrews Road. There'll be a little bit of shifting around at the front. Just give you a minute to get yourself... Oh, that was very quick. Do you think... Shall I wait and then... All right. If everyone is ready, then please begin. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, members. My name is Zareen Haddadi, and I'm the presenting officer for item 7, which is a council-owned application. This application seeks temporary permission for the retention of existing porta cabins to the rear and front of the site as Class E offices in association with vehicle parking for coaches, retention of storage containers and floodlights for a period of 3 years. Until recently, the site benefited from continued temporary permissions for the use of the rear of the site. This included vehicle parking, installation of storage containers and porta cabin along the northern boundary, floodlights and continued use of the existing porta cabin and front yard as offices, and associated vehicle parking for a temporary period of 3 years. This permission expired in November 2025. The current application seeks a renewal of this temporary permission for a further period of 3 years. The proposal is identical to that previously approved. Members should note the addendum to the report, which provides corrections to the site description, conservation implications and design section. This slide shows an aerial view of the site, including the surrounding context. The site has been owned by the London Borough of Hackney since 2009 and was previously used for part of Hackney's Meals on Wheels service. However, following the departure of this service from the site and the requirements for the relocation of the Learning Trust Special Needs and Disabilities Travel Assistance Service Teams, SEND, the site was identified for their relocation under the original temporary permission granted in February 2020. This application proposes the continued use of the rear of the site to provide vehicle parking associated with the SENS team. Hackney Passenger Transport Services also occupy the site, and it is proposed that their occupation also continues. So this slide also shows the proposed site plan. Bounding the site to the north and west is a TfL-owned bus garage. To the east is a railway viaduct. To the south are a number of industrial and residential uses, beyond which is the Regent's Canal. The site is not located within the Regent's Canal Conservation Area, but this is located immediately to the south of the site. The site is also within a priority office area. However, as all elements of the proposal are already in situ, as they have previously been approved, members may find it helpful to see the proposed development in context. So this slide shows the aerial view of the site again, annotated to show the location of the retained porta cabins in situ to the front and rear of the site. And this slide again shows the aerial view annotated to show the location of the storage containers to be retained in situ. I'll now run through a series of photographs to show members the elements of the proposed development in situ within the site following a recent site visit. So this is a photograph of the front of the site as seen from Andrews Road. The proposed porta cabin can be seen here, protruding just above the wall. And these photos again show the front of the site taken from different angles, looking east and west respectively. This slide shows a photograph taken from the site showing the proposed storage container to the front of the site in situ. And this slide again shows a photograph taken from within the site from behind the old factory building, looking to the rear of the site, showing more vehicle parking and the proposed porta cabins to the rear, along with the retained floodlights to the east and rear perimeter. This photograph shows a similar angle looking at the rear of the site, showing that the proposed storage containers alongside the proposed porta cabins. All the retained porta cabins and storage containers to the rear are not visible from the public realm. And this photograph is taken from the rear of the site looking south. This shows more parking, including the disabled bay directly to the rear of the old factory building. The site has an established planning history associated with temporary operational uses, and the proposal would facilitate the continued operation of Hackney's statutory SENS and passenger transport services, which deliver an essential public function for residents of the borough. The impacts are limited by the temporary nature of the permission sought and the established depot character in this part of St Andrews Road. Whilst it is noted the front retained porta cabin would result in some harm when viewing the development from Andrews Road, including the setting of Regent's Canal Conservation Area and the old factory building, this harm is considered limited, reversible and outweighed by the temporary nature of the proposal and the clear public benefits associated with the continued delivery of statutory transport services. No significant adverse impacts are identified in respect of neighbouring amenity, transport or highway safety, and the proposal would allow essential council services to continue operating temporarily, whilst longer-term redevelopment options for the wider site are progressed. A condition is proposed to restrict vehicle movement to and from the site in line with previous temporary permissions granted. On balance, the proposal is considered acceptable, and officers therefore recommend that planning permission be granted for a temporary period of 3 years, subject to conditions set in the report. Thank you, Chair. Any questions?
No questions yet. We have the applicant. Is it Mr. Anderson?
Yes. Thank you, Chair. The application is made on behalf of the London Borough of Hackney for the site's continued use for a further temporary period for the storage of a fleet of coaches which are operated by the council to facilitate 2 essential transport services. The first is the Special Educational Needs and Disabilities Travel Assistance Service, which provides free travel to and from educational establishments for eligible children and young people who have SEND needs. There is a statutory obligation placed on the council under Section 508B of the Education Act to provide this service. The second service accommodated is Hackney Passenger Transport Services. The statutory obligation to deliver this service is placed on the council under the Care Act 2014. The Act requires the council to assess an individual's care needs and, if eligible, provide support, including transport, to access necessary services for well-being like day centres or recreation as part of meeting their overall eligible needs. As such, these services are an essential support in the day-to-day lives of a significant number of the borough's most vulnerable residents. The Council's Strategic Property Services Department continues to search for a permanent base for the transport services, but in the absence of such a site at the present time, they have applied for permission to continue to operate the site in the same fashion for a further temporary period. As set out in the officer's report, the proposals do not give rise to any residential amenity or highway safety concerns and are compatible with the site allocation for a further temporary period proposed. Given the application is to facilitate the continued delivery of essential council services, and there is no material change in circumstances since the previous grant of planning permission, in our view, the balance weighs heavily in favour of a further approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The committee. Councillor.
Sorry. Again, I know this site quite well. It's on the edge of my ward. And I know it particularly well, actually, because the bus depot in Ash Grove was due, it belongs obviously to TfL, and TfL had been thinking about knocking it down and regenerating with a new bus garage for electric buses with some tower blocks on top. I don't know, but I understand that application is currently put to one side for safety reasons because of the nature of building tower blocks on top of a garage which is there for electric vehicles, and there are fire risks associated with that. I'm not sure about that. That's what I gather on the grapevine. But the point I'm making really is that this site had been due to be redeveloped as part of that TfL site, and I know about it because TfL had got as far as running consultations locally, and I attended those consultations. One of the things I learnt in that period was that the building that you can see, would you mind going back to the front elevation from St Andrews Road, please? That one there. The building that you can see there with the sort of triangle on the top is a listed facade, I believe, and has to be maintained. I think that's the case. In any case, the reason I wanted to go back to this was because it is quite an attractive building. And the view of it from the street is really, really spoilt by those porta cabins. So whilst I can absolutely see that you might want to hang on to the space to park the vehicles, and the porta cabins at the back don't cause any problems at all, are we actually using those porta cabins? And if we're not, could we take them away so that we can see that building a bit more clearly, and at least get the benefit of seeing a little bit of Hackney history? Thank you.
Peter Kelly, Principal Urban Design Officer. The first part of your question, well, you made a comment on the former factory building, the Cintiq building, and its frontage, which you said was listed. It isn't actually a listed building. However, as part of this process and the previous consultation for a separate process, it was identified that there is some interest to that building, some historic interest to the building, and as such, this application, this report, acknowledges that it is a non-designated heritage asset. And the porta cabin that's in front of it at the moment is acknowledged to be creating some limited harm to the view of the frontage of the building, but the report sort of concludes that the harm is limited, reversible, it's already present, and this particular proposal won't undermine any future separate application, or won't.
Chair, if you don't mind me coming back just briefly. Thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I'm not going to make a huge fuss about this, but the question is, are those porta cabins being used or not? If they're not being used, then can we not take them away? Because it strikes me that possibly what we're doing here, because we're only looking at a 3-year temporary application, we're just basically rubber stamping a status quo, which isn't a very beautiful status quo. And if we could improve it by taking those porta cabins away, if they're not in use, then why don't we do that?
Thank you for your question. Just to note, our planning team visited the site last week, and they are very much in use by our colleagues in the SEND team. So they're very much always in use, and it's used as office space. So yes, they are. Sure. Thank you.
But thank you for asking that question, Councillor Narcos.
Temporary planning permission, I think it says in here since 2009, so that's 16 years. 17 years almost. And this is obviously seeking permission to extend it till 2028. At what point does temporary become permanent? Because I think there's a few bits of the report where it mentions, problems with it or harm that might be caused, and references the fact that it is only temporary. I'm just wondering if there is a point where this would become accepted as a permanent sort of arrangement rather than a temporary one.
Good evening, members. My name is Gareth Barnett. I'm the South Area Team Leader. This temporary planning permission is basically identical to your question in terms of when does it become permanent. Basically, the applicant would have to submit a lawful development certificate, and for that, given it's a commercial use, it would have to demonstrate 10 years of continuous use. So that'd be from 2019. At that point, if we were to accept it, then it would be lawful.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee? No, we're all good. It is temporary. It's an extension of what's there. I'll move it to the vote then. And the recommendation summary is grant planning permission subject to conditions. Those in favour, please show. That's unanimous.
Okay, just for the live stream and the recording, can you keep your hands up, please? That is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. That was unanimous. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 8, delegated decisions. The subcommittee members note the delegated decisions document. Thank you very much. Agenda item 9, any other business the chair considers to be urgent. There's just a couple of things I want to inform the committee members of, because I think you'd be interested. One, just in terms of the training that we have. So you may have seen that the invitation to the training has been extended to all councillors. This was an ask to me that other councillors may be interested in the training. So that has been agreed that all councillors are very welcome to attend our training. If they're interested, they can join us. Now, obviously, there's no obligation on their part to attend. The obligation is for us as a committee to attend these briefings. But so you understand, it was just to open the offer to any councillor who might want to come along and listen into the training. And a separate different point, you may have got your Hackney Society Spaces leaflet declaring an interest that I'm a member, because I believe that we should promote the highest standards in design and protect Hackney's unique heritage. Fancy that. One of the articles talks about how the council is handling public houses. Now, this is an issue that I've discussed with our head of planning as an issue, as how our processes are dealt with in regards to public houses. And whilst it may be more complicated to talk about the scheme of delegation, what we did discuss is that we used to, as councillors, get the list of all applications completely. Does anyone remember that? We used to get lists of all the applications that came to the council, and so we could look at it, same as licensing applications, and so we could look down and see all the applications that had come in that affected our wards for our interest, which would include all the ones that are delegated, but if we were concerned for any reason, it was highlighted and we were made aware of what has come in. And so you're going to work out some kind of scheme, not quite sure, because obviously the software's changed since then, but that's the ask, that at least as a first step, all councillors should be able to be notified or have access to that constant stream of applications which come and will affect our wards. So I just thought you might be interested in that. Councillor Adam.
Chair, can I just say I think it's a really welcome move. I think everybody would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just wanted to explain that. Lovely. So please note that the next meeting is Wednesday, the 4th of February. Our head planning has warned us that it could be a whopper of an agenda. And what I have said is if it does look onerous, I am more inclined to have an additional meeting put in our agenda as opposed to doing an agenda that can take us late into the night by preference. So that's but I leave it up to our head of planning. Councillor Wright first.
I noticed from the forthcoming dates for planning meetings that we're moving into the period of the pre-elections. Are we still going to be having planning meetings then?
That's a yes. Councillor Slick? I have, I've got a trump card, but I don't know. It just depends. Okay, so
we can have 2 long meetings.
Yeah, it might be 2 long meetings. I mean, we shall see. I mean, having had long meetings to, something like 11 p.m. It's not the time when you want to be making those decisions. So let's see. We're going to. I'll leave it to our officers to decide. If anyone else has got strong views against, say it now. Otherwise, I'm a big fan of. I still win. Okay. Well, with that, I'm going to declare at the end of the meeting. Thank you very much, everyone.
What, am I doing this now? Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. I'll carry on and to test the mics.
Hi Gareth, can I come in then to testing 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
We can hear
me.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you.